I grew up on a farm in Adelaide for about 6 years. We had ducks, chickens, sheep, cows. The cows we used to take to the abattoirs, but the rest we used to do ourselves. So from about 12 or 13, really all started when I had to build a duck pen because I was doing ag science, because we're on the farm and stuff, as well as sort of cooking and doing maths and English and stuff as well too. And we did this project on ducks, and then we got ducks, and then they hatched, and then we didn't know what to do with them. So I took sort of 15 ducks home on the school bus on a Friday afternoon, and then I didn't know what to do with them when I got home, but I'm like, I'll have them, I'll put them somewhere, and then I put them in the laundry, and they shit everywhere for the weekend. And me, my old man and my brother built a sort of duck pen. And then about 12, 16, 18 weeks, later, 4 or 5 months, we got these fully grown sort of white Muscovy ducks. And we're like, well, what do we do with them now? So then all off, done, plucked, gutted in the freezer. So, and it was only about 12 or 13. So it was a bit, a bit confronting. But I think always from then I've had a respect of, the land and where produce comes from. We had a little orchard on them, it wasn't a massive farm, only 40 acres, but we had, we had fruit tree orchard, veggie garden, sheep, cows, probably about 10 or 12 cows that we reared really just for personal use. They were all named after my 6 aunties every year, so we do 6 and then 6, random names, and then my aunties, so we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when they're calves, and then feed them every morning as soon as they're weaned. And then they'd all have their E-tags and then go off to the local abattoir, then come back all broken down into how we wanted it, and then we'd freeze it and sort of divvy it up between the families, really, I suppose. So it's always been an interest to me. And then I took over the point in Albert Park, which was my first big executive chef job in 05, the same year as Bacchus. That was in the January, and I took over in the September, October of that year. And at the time, that was owned by a company called it was Tasman Meats, and they were the largest abattoirs in the southern states. Actually, I think it was in Australia, and then they grew to be the largest abattoir out in Brooklyn in the southern hemisphere. And they were bought out about 5 or 6 years ago by like a massive company from Brazil. Big meat in Brazil and Argentina, and they wanted sort of Australian meat, so they bought the abattoir. So the owners were butchers, self-made multi-millionaires, from Sicily, hard fucker. But he didn't have a huge amount to do with the restaurant, but he oversaw everything. And the one thing, and so I took over the point from Curly, who'd been there on and off for 10 or 12 years. And the one rule was you can do anything you like, but the meat page needs to stay. So we had a full a la carte, 8 or 10 course tasting menu and a meat page with at that stage it had about 8 or 9 cuts, and I ramped it up to about 14 or 15. And that's really when I started to understand, learn, and become obsessed almost with grass-fed meat, with grain-fed meat, and with Wagyu and different types, and to take my base knowledge, which was pretty good, like a lot further.